Jai-Ho Park wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the small village in Palawan. The hot Philippine sun beat down on him, but he didn't mind. After 3 months of searching, he felt close to something important. The village sat between tall mountains and the blue sea. Old wooden houses stood on stilts, and chickens ran freely between them. It was different from his modern home in Seoul, but Jai-Ho loved it here. An old woman named Maria had told him about special papers kept in the village temple. She said they told stories about people who could travel in their sleep. At first, Jai-Ho thought it was just a folk tale. But as a space anthropologist, he knew that old stories often held hidden truths. The temple was a simple building made of wood and stone. Inside, the air felt cool and smelled of old paper and candle smoke. Father Santos, the temple keeper, waited for him with a wooden box. "These papers are very old," Father Santos said in simple English. "Our people have kept them safe for many years. They talk about the dream walkers." Jai-Ho put on white gloves and carefully opened the box. Inside, he found yellowed papers with faded writing. Some had drawings of people lying down with strange circles around their heads. Others showed stars and what looked like maps. As he read, his hands began to shake. The papers described how some people could leave their bodies while sleeping and travel to other places. But these weren't just stories about flying in dreams. The papers had exact instructions, measurements, and star positions. Jai-Ho took out his phone and called Hae-Nul Kim, his research partner back in Seoul. "Hae-Nul, you need to see this," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "These aren't just stories. They're scientific documents. They explain how to use sleep to travel through space." "Are you sure?" Hae-Nul asked. "That sounds impossible." The papers describe brain wave patterns. They talk about something called dream frequency and how to measure it. This is real science, just written in an old way. Jai-Ho looked at more papers. They showed how the villagers had built special sleeping places that lined up with the stars. They used certain plants and followed strict sleep schedules. All of this helped them reach the right state of mind. That night, Jai-Ho couldn't sleep. He sat on the porch of his small guest house, looking at the stars. The village was quiet except for the sound of waves and night birds. An old man named Pedro sat down next to him. "You found the Dreamwalkers' papers," Pedro said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. Did your people really travel through space while sleeping?" Pedro smiled. "My grandmother was a dream walker. She said there are others out there, watching us, waiting for us to remember how to reach them." "Others?" Jai-Ho asked. "You mean?" "Yes, people from other worlds. They taught us long ago how to walk in dreams, but when new things came, phones, computers, busy lives, we forgot how." Jai-Ho looked at his research notes. Modern science said space travel needed big ships and complex machines. But what if there was another way? What if humanity's first real contact with aliens had happened right here, in the dreams of villagers? He needed to study this more. He needed Hae-Nul's knowledge about sleep patterns, and he needed better equipment. This could change everything they knew about space travel and human abilities. As the sun rose over the water, Jai-Ho made his decision. He would stay in the village and learn everything he could. Sometimes the biggest discoveries weren't found in spaceships or laboratories, but in quiet villages where ancient wisdom waited to be remembered. He didn't know it yet, but his discovery would soon change the way humans thought about sleep, space, and their place in the universe. The real journey was just beginning. Hae-Nul Kim stepped off the small plane at Palawan's airport, carrying her heavy equipment bag. The hot air hit her face immediately, so different from the cool research labs in Seoul. She saw Jai-Ho waiting for her near a jeepney painted in bright colors. "You look different," she said to Jai-Ho. After just 1 month in the village, her research partner had changed. He seemed more relaxed, and his usual neat clothes were replaced by simple cotton shirts and pants. "Living here changes you," Jai-Ho replied. Wait until you see what I found. During the drive to the village, Haynul looked at the data on her tablet. For the past week, she had been studying the sleep patterns Jeho sent her from the villagers. The results made no sense, but they were real. These brain waves, she said, pointing to the screen. I've never seen anything like them. It's like they're sleeping and fully awake at the same time. Jeho nodded. That's why I asked Dr. Yunji to join us. We need her knowledge of human biology. They reached the village as the sun was setting. Haynul saw the old houses on stilts that Jeho had described. Children played between them, and old women sat on porches, weaving baskets. It looked so normal, yet the scientific readings from this place were extraordinary. Maria, the old woman who had first told Jeho about the papers, had prepared dinner for them. As they ate rice and fish, she told Haynul about the dreamwalkers. My mother could do it, Maria said. She would sleep and visit other worlds. She said the beings there looked like light and could think in colors we cannot see. Haynul was a scientist. She worked with facts and numbers, but the brainwave patterns she had seen were facts too. Something real was happening here. Later that night, Dr. Yunji arrived. She was shorter than Haynul, but carried herself with confidence. As the top xenobiologist in South Korea, she had studied how human bodies might change in space. I came as soon as I saw the data, Yunji said. These sleep patterns show changes in human DNA. Small changes, but they shouldn't be possible. The three scientists sat in Jeho's small house, looking at their combined research. Haynul's sleep studies showed impossible brain patterns. Yunji's tests showed DNA changes, and Jeho's ancient papers described it all, written hundreds of years ago. We need more equipment, Haynul said, and protection. If this is real, it's the biggest discovery in human history. I know someone who can help, Yunji replied. She made a call on her satellite phone. The next morning, a sleek helicopter landed outside the village. Captain Du Yun Kang stepped out, his Space Force uniform looking out of place in the simple village. He was young for a captain, but his eyes showed wisdom. The Space Force is interested in your discovery, Du Yun said. They're giving us the research vessel, Dreamweaver, and full funding. But we need results. Jeho looked at his team. Haynul with her sleep science, Yunji with her knowledge of human biology, and now Captain Du Yun with his resources and protection. They were ready to unlock the secrets of the Dreamwalkers. That evening, as the sun set over the water, Pedro approached them. You have built a good team, the old man said. But remember, the Dreamwalkers didn't use machines. They used their hearts and minds. The old ways and the new ways must work together. The team looked at each other. They were about to try something that mixed ancient wisdom with modern science. None of them knew what they would find, but they were ready to try. As night fell over the village, they began to set up their equipment. The real work was about to begin. The research team spent 2 weeks setting up their equipment in the village temple. They filled the old wooden building with sleep monitors, brain scanners, and computers. Captain Du Yun made sure they had the best technology available. Haynul worked with 5 volunteers from the village who came from families of dreamwalkers. She attached small sensors to their heads and bodies to record everything while they slept. The sensors will tell us what happens in your body during the dreamwalking, she explained to the volunteers. They nodded, calm and ready. This was part of their heritage. Yunji checked their blood samples every day, watching for the strange DNA changes she had seen before. Jeho studied the old papers, matching the ancient instructions with modern methods. They worked carefully, combining old wisdom with new science. On the 15th night, everything changed. All 5 volunteers fell asleep at the same time, following the patterns in the ancient papers. The computer showed normal sleep signs at first. Then Haynul noticed something strange on her screens. The brain waves are synchronizing, she said quietly. They're all showing the same pattern. The temple felt different. The air seemed thicker, and the screens flickered with unusual readings. Captain Du checked the security systems, but everything was working normally. Then one of the volunteers, an old woman named Rosa, spoke in her sleep. Her voice sounded different, deeper, and more formal. "We have been waiting," Rosa said. "Finally, you have remembered how to reach us." The scientists looked at each other. This was not part of their plan. The computer showed Rosa was still completely asleep, but her voice was clear and strong. "Who are you?" Jai-Ho asked carefully. "We are the Watchers," Rosa's voice replied. "We have guided humanity's dreams since your first cities. The people of these islands kept the old ways longest. We knew they would help you remember." Hanul checked her readings again. "This is impossible. Their brain waves are connecting to something outside our instrument's range." Through Rosa, the Watchers explained more. They were an ancient race that had evolved beyond physical bodies. They traveled through dreams and thoughts, watching other species grow and learn. "Your people are ready now," Rosa said, "ready to learn the ways of dream walking among the stars. But you must promise to use this knowledge for peace." Captain Du stepped forward. "How can we be sure this is real? That this isn't just a dream?" Rosa smiled in her sleep. "Look at your screens." The computer suddenly showed new data. Complex equations filled the screens, explaining how dream walking worked in scientific terms. It was information far beyond current human knowledge, but written in ways they could understand. "This is incredible," Yunji whispered, looking at the DNA patterns on her screen. "They're showing us how human DNA can adapt for dream walking. It's like they've given us a manual for human evolution." The contact lasted for 3 hours. When it ended, the volunteers woke up slowly. They remembered everything and could explain what they had seen in the dream space. Rosa looked at the team with clear eyes. "Now you know," she said in her normal voice. "The Dreamwalkers were not just telling stories. We were keeping humanity's connection to the Watchers alive." That night, nobody on the team could sleep. They sat on the beach, watching the stars and thinking about what had happened. They had made humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization, not through spaceships and rockets, but through the dreams of village elders. "Everything changes from here," Captain Du said quietly. Jai-Ho nodded. "Yes, but we must be careful. The Watchers trust us because we respected the old ways. We must keep that trust." The team knew their real work was just beginning. They had to protect this discovery and use it wisely. The future of human-alien relations would depend on what they did next. 3 months after first contact, the village had changed. The research team built a small laboratory next to the temple, but they were careful to keep the village's peaceful atmosphere. Solar panels provided quiet power, and their equipment was hidden inside traditional wooden buildings. Hanul sat with Rosa and the other volunteers, learning why the Philippines was special to the Watchers. Rosa drew a map in the sand as she explained. "The islands form a pattern," Rosa said, drawing lines between points. "When people sleep at these points, their dreams are stronger. The Watchers chose our islands long ago because of these dream lines." In the laboratory, Yunji made an important discovery. She found that Filipino people from families of dreamwalkers had small differences in their DNA. These differences helped them connect with the Watchers more easily. "It's like their ancestors adapted over many generations of dreamwalking," she explained to Captain Du. "The Watchers helped human evolution, but only in places where people kept practicing the old ways. The Watchers shared more knowledge during their dream meetings. They showed the team how different alien species across the galaxy used sleep in unique ways. Some aliens solved complex problems while sleeping. Others used dreams to share memories across many generations." Jai-Ho spent hours recording these stories. "Each species has its own sleep patterns," he wrote in his notes. "But humans are special because we can learn new patterns. We can adapt our dreams to communicate with many different species." One night, the Watchers shared their biggest secret through Maria, one of the oldest dream walkers. They explained why they had waited so long to make official contact. "Your world is at a turning point," Maria said in the Watcher's voice. "You have the power to travel between stars, but you still fight among yourselves. We waited until you found us through peaceful means, through the quiet wisdom of these villages." Captain Duyum understood what they meant. If the military had discovered dream walking first, they might have tried to use it as a weapon. But finding it through cultural research meant it would be used for peaceful contact instead. The team learned that other villages across the Philippines had their own connections to the Watchers. Each place had different traditions, different ways of dream walking. It was like a giant library of alien wisdom, preserved in simple village customs. Hanul worked with village children, teaching them how to use the new equipment while respecting the old ways. "Your grandparents used their minds to reach the stars," she told them. "Now we can combine their wisdom with science to go even further." The Watchers were pleased with this balance of old and new. Through the Dreamwalkers, they began teaching humans about other civilizations. They showed how different species solved problems, how they dealt with climate change, how they learned to live in peace. But not everyone was happy about these discoveries. One evening, Captain Duyum received a warning from his contacts in the Space Force. Other groups were asking questions about the village. They wanted to know why so many scientists were visiting this quiet place. "We need to be careful," Duyum told the team. "Some people might want to use dream walking for the wrong reasons. We must protect this knowledge." That night, as the team watched the sunset, they felt both proud and worried. They had learned so much, but they knew challenges were coming. The peace of the village might soon be tested by those who didn't understand the true value of what they had found. Captain Duyum's warning proved correct sooner than anyone expected. One morning, the team noticed 3 black helicopters circling the village. They carried the logo of Global Defense Systems, a private military company known for its aggressive research methods. Hanul was working with the volunteers when she saw men in dark suits walking through the village. They carried briefcases and tablets, taking pictures of everything. The village children stopped playing and ran inside their homes. "They're from the research division of GDS," Captain Duyum told the team. "They must have noticed the energy readings from our equipment. We need to protect the Dreamwalkers." Jaiho gathered the ancient papers and locked them in a secure vault beneath the temple. Yunji deleted all DNA records from the main computers, keeping only encrypted backups. They had planned for this, but it was happening faster than they expected. A tall woman in an expensive suit approached them. She introduced herself as Director Park from Global Defense Systems. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "Your research is impressive," she said. "Our scientists have been monitoring the energy patterns from this village. We know you've made contact with something extraordinary. GDS would like to offer you better funding and resources." The team looked at each other. They knew what this meant. GDS wanted to turn dream walking into a weapon. They would use it to spy on other countries, maybe even try to attack other species through their dreams. "Thank you, but we're happy with our current arrangement," Captain Duyun said firmly. Director Park's smile disappeared. "This isn't just about research anymore. Dream walking could be the ultimate military tool. Imagine soldiers who could attack enemies in their sleep. We can't let this power stay hidden in a small village." That evening, the GDS team set up their own equipment near the village. They brought soldiers and scientists, preparing to take over the research. The villagers watched in silence, worry in their eyes. The team met in the temple to discuss their options. They couldn't fight GDS directly. The company was too powerful. But they had something GDS didn't understand: the trust of the Watchers. Rosa and the other Dreamwalkers joined their meeting. The Watchers knew this would happen. Rosa said, "They have seen it before on other worlds. That's why they taught us to protect ourselves." That night, all the Dreamwalkers in the village went to sleep at the same time. The GDS scientists recorded strange energy readings on their equipment, but something unexpected happened. Every person who tried to use GDS equipment to study the Dreamwalkers fell into a deep sleep. They had dreams of peace and understanding. The Watchers showed them visions of how dream walking had helped other civilizations grow and learn. When the GDS scientists woke up, they were changed. They understood that dream walking couldn't be forced or used for harm. It only worked through peace and respect. Director Park herself had the strongest experience. She dreamed of ancient civilizations that had tried to use dream walking as a weapon. She saw how they had failed, how the power had disappeared when they tried to misuse it. The next morning, the GDS teams packed up their equipment and left. Director Park spoke briefly with Captain Do-yoon before leaving. "We were wrong," she said quietly. "This power, it can't be controlled or weaponized. It has to be earned through trust and peace. Your team should continue its work." The village slowly returned to normal, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. Other groups would try to take the dream-walking knowledge. The team needed to find a way to protect it forever. After the incident with global defense systems, the Watchers suggested that Jai-ho and Hae-Newell should learn dream walking themselves. This would help protect the knowledge and show other scientists that humans could master these skills safely. The training began at sunrise each day. Rosa and Maria taught them the old breathing techniques first. Jai-ho and Hae-Newell sat on bamboo mats in the temple, learning to quiet their minds. Modern scientists had to unlearn their busy thoughts before they could walk in dreams. "Your minds are like busy cities," Maria told them. "We must help them become like quiet villages. Only then can you hear the Watchers." Hae-Newell found it difficult at first. As a sleep scientist, she wanted to measure and record everything. But the ancient ways required trust and patience. She learned to focus on the sound of waves and the feeling of warm air on her skin. Jai-ho struggled too. He kept thinking about his research notes and theories. Rosa taught him to let go of his need to understand everything. "Some things must be felt rather than studied," she said. The alien mentors helped them through their dreams. Each night, the Watchers showed them new ways to use their sleeping minds. They learned to recognize different types of dreams: regular dreams, learning dreams, and the special dreams that could reach across space. Eun-ji monitored their progress with her equipment. She saw amazing changes in their brain patterns. "Your minds are adapting faster than the villagers did," she told them. "Maybe because you understand both the science and the tradition." Captain Do-yoon provided security while they trained. He watched with interest as his scientist friends changed. They moved more quietly now, spoke more carefully. They were becoming bridges between two worlds. One night, during their 4th week of training, something special happened. Jai-ho and Hae-Newell fell asleep at the same time, following the ancient patterns. In their dreams, they found themselves in a place between worlds. They saw the universe as the Watchers saw it. Dreams connected everything like strings of light. They could see other civilizations sleeping and dreaming, all connected in this space. Earth was just one bright point in a huge network of dreaming worlds. The Watchers appeared to them as patterns of light and thought. They showed Jai-ho and Hae-Newell why humans were unique. While other species could dreamwalk in their own ways, humans could adapt to connect with many different types of minds. When they woke up, Jai-ho and Hae-Newell knew they had passed an important test. They could now walk in dreams without help from the village elders. But they had also learned something unexpected. Humans have more potential than even the Watchers expected. Hae-Newell told the team, "We can learn to connect with any species that dreams. We just forgot how to do it over time." The village celebrated their achievement with a quiet feast. As they ate together, Rosa explained more about the history of dreamwalking. Long ago, all humans could do this. The people of these islands kept the skill alive, waiting for the right time to share it again. Jai-ho and Hae-Newell knew their training wasn't finished. They had much more to learn. But they had proven that modern humans could master the ancient ways. Science and tradition could work together to open new paths to the stars. The United Nations building in New York looked very different from the quiet village in Palawan. Jai-ho adjusted his formal suit as he walked through the marble halls with his team. Today, they would present their discoveries to world leaders. Captain Du Yun had arranged this meeting carefully. Representatives from 50 countries waited in the main conference room. Scientists, military leaders, and government officials filled the rows of seats. They had all heard rumors about the dream-walking research. Hanul set up their equipment while Yunji prepared the scientific data. They had brought Rosa and Maria with them to demonstrate the reality of dream-walking. The village elders looked calm in their traditional clothes, despite the formal setting. Distinguished leaders, Jaiho began. What we have discovered in the Philippines changes everything we know about human potential and our place in the universe. The team shared their findings step by step. They showed brain wave patterns and DNA analysis. They explained how the villagers had preserved ancient knowledge that modern science was only beginning to understand. Some officials looked doubtful. A general from a powerful country stood up. How do we know this isn't just clever technology? How can we trust that these aliens, these watchers, are real? Rosa smiled and spoke quietly. Perhaps a demonstration would help. Following the planned protocol, Rosa and Maria entered a dream-walking state right there in the conference room. The team's equipment showed their synchronized brain patterns on large screens. Then something remarkable happened. Everyone in the room felt a gentle wave of peace wash over them. The watchers were present, touching each mind lightly, showing that they were real. The doubting general sat down slowly, his face full of wonder. Through Rosa and Maria, the watchers explained why they had waited so long to reveal themselves. They showed how Earth was part of a larger community of dreaming worlds, but they also gave a warning. The power of dream walking cannot be forced or used for harm. Rosa said in the watcher's voice, "Those who try will find only empty dreams. This gift must be used for understanding between all peoples and species." The military leaders who had hoped to use dream walking as a weapon now understood its true nature. The scientists who had wanted to control it realized that cooperation was the only way forward. Hanul presented their proposal. The Philippines would become Earth's center for dream walking research and training. The villages that had preserved the old knowledge would teach others, but in their own way and at their own pace. "We must protect these villages and their wisdom," she explained. "They are humanity's bridge to the stars." To everyone's surprise, the first support came from Director Park of Global Defense Systems. She stood up and shared her own experience of being changed by the Watcher's dreams. Other leaders followed, offering help to protect and support the dream-walking villages. By the end of the day, the United Nations had created a new organization, the International Dream-Walking Coalition. Its first task would be to protect the Philippine villages while carefully sharing their knowledge with the world. As they left the UN building, Jaiho looked at his team. They had done what seemed impossible. They had convinced the world's leaders to protect and respect the ancient wisdom of simple villages. "This is just the beginning," Captain Du Yun said. "Now we can properly introduce humanity to the galactic community." Rosa and Maria smiled. Their villages had kept the old ways alive for generations, waiting for this moment. Now the whole world would learn what their people had always known. The path to the stars went through dreams. 1 year after the United Nations meeting, the small village in Palawan had transformed. A beautiful wooden building now stood near the temple, its design combining traditional Philippine architecture with modern elements. This was Earth's first dream embassy. Jaiho walked through the embassy's halls, remembering how it all began with ancient papers in a village temple. The building housed both scientific equipment and meditation spaces. Solar panels provided power, hidden carefully under traditional roof tiles. Everything balanced the old ways with new technology. Hanul led the training program, teaching scientists from around the world. But the village elders chose who could learn dream walking. "Not everyone is ready," Rosa would say. "The heart must be peaceful before the mind can walk in dreams." The changes went far beyond the village. Other dream-walking communities across the Philippines opened their own training centers. Each place had its own traditions, its own ways of connecting with the watchers. The International Dream Walking Coalition made sure these villages stayed protected and peaceful. Captain Du Yun, now Admiral Du Yun, managed security for all dream walking sites. He worked closely with village leaders to keep the balance between protection and peace. His military experience helped him understand both the power and the responsibility of dream walking. Eunji's research showed something remarkable. As more people learned dream walking, their DNA began to show the same changes seen in the village families. Humans are remembering how to use abilities we always had. She explained to visiting scientists, "We're not changing. We're waking up." The Dream Embassy hosted its first official galactic meeting 3 months ago. Representatives from 12 different species gathered in the dream space. Some looked like light, others like patterns of thought. Each species brought its own way of dreaming, its own wisdom to share. Jai-Ho and Hae-Newell attended this historic meeting as Earth's representatives. In the dream space, they saw how each species had its own special gifts. Some could share memories across generations. Others could solve complex problems together in their dreams. Humans, they learned, had a unique ability to adapt and connect with all different types of dreamers. The Watchers revealed more of their purpose during this meeting. They had guided many young species over millions of years, helping them join the greater community of dreaming worlds. Earth was ready now because humans had finally found the path to the stars through peace rather than power. Maria's granddaughter, a young girl named Clara, showed special talent for dream walking. She could connect with alien minds more easily than anyone before. "The children will go further than we ever dreamed," Maria said proudly, watching Clara talk with scientists about her experiences. The village itself stayed simple and peaceful, even with all these changes. Children still played between the houses on stilts. Fishermen still went out in their boats each morning. The rhythm of village life continued, now enriched by its connection to the stars. One evening, as the sun set over the water, Jai-Ho found Hae-Newell sitting on the beach. They watched the stars appear, knowing that each light might be home to another dreaming world. Their journey had started with a search for ancient wisdom in a small village. Now that wisdom was helping humanity find its place among the stars. "What do you think comes next?" Hae-Newell asked. Jai-Ho smiled. "We keep learning, keep dreaming. But we do it the right way, with peace and patience, just like the village taught us." As night fell over the Dream Embassy, lights twinkled in its windows. Inside, dreamers from Earth and beyond shared their stories, their wisdom, and their hopes for the future. The path to the stars had been there all along, waiting in the dreams of a quiet village by the sea.